Hi, good afternoon, good afternoon. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. This is True Blue Thai here from Thailand. How are you getting on today? Take a glass of water. Before I get started. Hi, if you don't know me, I'm True Blue Thai. I live in Thailand. I've been here about 3 years. I'm a big Man City fan. Been supporting Man City since the 70s. Going to Man City games since the 70s. And just move your bed a little bit. And then, now I live in Thailand. I live in a Thai area, for instance, and it's a nice sunny, well, cloudy day today in Thailand, about 30 plus degrees. Feel like temperature about 37 today, but I don't think so. Very noisy. Motorbikes. Too many phalanx come over here, my motorbikes, I don't ride a motorbike and crash, and then they're dead, and then that kind of thing. So, for instance, anyway, so I'm going to talk about that. So, but what I'd like to do is talk about Manchester City, for instance, and so if you like what I'm saying, agree with me, disagree with me, some people do, some people don't. Must go like and subscribe if you want. Up to you, as they say in Thailand. For instance, the Thai ladies, up to you. So sorry, Cap from Thailand, and let's get in with it because quite honestly, I've had a good 24 hours or so for us now to think and reflect on where we are and what we are, what we need to do going forward. For instance, and I've listened to a lot of good City fans, which I do believe in. For instance, yes, I'm Appleline, yes. So we have the cafe restaurant up here, and it just drives me crazy because you get people coming up and visiting the restaurant, and because it's in a tiny area, and I'm the only Falang foreigner, for instance, and because of my hair, my bleaks, whatever, I get looked at a lot. So, for instance, in the beginning, I said to her, how are you? Why, yeah. But now, for instance, after 3 years, she's like, just leave me alone. It can drive you absolutely mad. It really can. And I'll go out and brush a few leaves or just clean out here, for instance, or water the plants, and you get people stand there going, oh, like you're the hippo, the famous hippo, if you don't know about it, in Moscow, Thailand, the big hippo, and everybody's staring at you, for instance. I've actually had people taking pictures of me. It's just like, for God's sake, would just leave me alone. So yeah, it can be really, really frustrating. So, for instance, every time I'm doing one of these, etc., outside my front of the place where I live, and I get these looks, etc., for instance, for people going to the cafe, which is up here. Anyway, so let's continue. But I've actually had a good listen, and I've got to think, and there's definitely a consensus for instance, of what is wrong with Manchester City, and I can actually put it down. I can actually compare it to, or a feel like to, of what's happened to them across the way from us, etc., in Salford, and where they've gone wrong. They're not addressing the issues with them. Still, I do believe a lot of their plastic fans are still not agreeing or understanding about what their issues are, and still not understanding the fact that, for instance, everything is going to be perfect. I'm watching Amarin's base yesterday. It was a classic, absolute classic. And for instance, and I am so happy. Well, I am not one of their supporters. I was so happy I chose blue instead of red, even though I could have gone the opposite way because my father was a blue and I didn't get on with my dad at all. For instance, and I wanted to be a red because not for instance, to despise him. But thank God I used my brain, etc. For instance, and realised Manchester City are the team for me. Anyway, because I still think United are still not going and addressing the issue. They may have got this guy in, for instance, who is a businessman more than anything else. And you can paint him up to say that he was a boyhood United fan, blah, blah, blah. But I still don't think they may have got the guys, for instance, who are doing about football, but I still think it's an arduous and long pathway. And I just don't think, I think United fans still got in their tiny little heads that they can just change it. Because under Ferguson in Israel, when there was really no competition, it was either him or Liverpool. Arsenal maybe one season. But other than that, until, for instance, the money came into Chelsea, did things ever change really? It was only that the Red Cartel, for instance, who was getting anywhere, was winning, and that was the only thing. But yeah, so let me just put it down. So I think, for instance, a lot of the issues what they had, which was an aging squad, was an adaptive to say, for instance, because we're so great, for instance, all we need to do is buy a player and everything will be all right in the morning. All we need to do is get rid of him and everything will be all right in the morning, for instance. And I don't think that's going to be the case because, for instance, with United, even though they lost Ferguson, they lost, for instance, their sporting director or whatever, the guy, at the same time, and they brought in this other guy, for instance, who was totally incompetent for them. What they didn't do is address the problems of and who was running the ship and what was the going. And they're going to blame everything on the Glazers, which wasn't the issue. Ferguson has got the reason why United is crap today is pure and simple because it is probably down to Ferguson as well, not on addressing things. Okay, and for instance, and I think, for instance, the combination of 4 or 5 things, 6 things, etc. For instance, with United, is probably kind of echoes the fact that, for instance, what's happening at City right now is very similar, not in certain ways. What's highlighted at City, for instance, more than anything else, is the injuries. The injuries, what's it called, is exposed. It's kind of like a ripping off a bandage and then seeing the wound below. And the injuries basically just highlighted the fact that, for instance, and I can understand why Pep doesn't want a big squad, but it comes down to the lack of who we're going to replace. Everybody thinks Man City have got this amazing squad of all these players, but one thing Manchester City don't have, we don't have this huge squad. For instance, of these, what we have is good talented players who sit on the bench, for instance. But it doesn't mean to say that, for instance, we've got 2 teams. We've got good talented players, for instance, who can make up this squad, for instance, and like our bench, etc. For instance, where any other team, any other Premier League team can do the same thing, and they just haven't done it. So to sit there and say Man City's got 2 squads is actually stupid. We've just got good bench players, talented bench players when they're all fit. And when they're not fit. You can see right now, they're made up of either goalkeepers or EDS players. What Manchester City, as I said, the injuries have highlighted is the fact that, for instance, who are the age of the squad, which is another issue, and for instance, how the fact that putting players and playing players. Because everybody's having to go Gundogan at the moment because when he was brought back, he was brought back as an assistant to Rodri or backup to Rodri, not backup, just to play alongside Rodri. We never expected Rodri to go down and not to be in his position. He wasn't at number 6. He was attacking midfielder when he played before. So now he's playing a different role, in a role which he should be playing. For instance, and there's other players. Savinho first has come in, and he should be a bedding in player, but because of the injuries, he's be a who's coming on. What's it go to get like what we did with Phil Foden, bring him on. What's it go to bed into the squad and get him in, blah blah blah, whatever. But now he's starting every single game, for instance, which he shouldn't be doing because of the injuries side of the squad. For instance, and you could pick up holes in the squad of the fact that we don't have enough players, okay, which we need, and also the players who bring in, etc. For instance, who are aging, etc. I think we get 8 to 12 players, for instance, who are around 30. So, for instance, do they have the hunger? Are they good enough? For instance, do they have the legs? For instance, can they? For instance, I know there's, and it appears that there's a lot of questions asked and answered of the players to say that, for instance, no, we don't, and I think that's becoming more and more transparent. The fact that, for instance, we're bringing on me personally, would I want to see the younger kids coming in? Yeah, I'd definitely bring in Makatia because he's definitely more qualified because he's played in the Premier League and he should be given more of a choice because what the hell not? A guy who is young, give him a stick. He may not, but if you're gonna bring it, you can't be doing any worse. He's a midfielder, for instance, who can actually, give it a go. Harvard Bellis, not Harvard Bellis, the young lad, for instance. Um, Midfielder, I can't remember his name, he has a double name. He should be given a chance, for instance, because Quite a State, for instance, he shouldn't, come on for 20, 30 minutes, etc. Just, give it a go, for instance, and we, Pep has got to be less stubborn in his substitutions. Bringing on somebody at 70 minutes is a total waste of time, especially when you're 3-0 down. What is the point of that? Kevin De Bruyne needs to come on a lot easier. Kevin De Bruyne was the best player on the pitch as soon as he comes on. Why do you not bring him at half time? You never know, for instance. If he's injured, what the hell? Once we go, we need to be more clarification on this. One thing, there's a lot of lack of confidence in the players, which is really surprising because these are the players who have done it before in the past. And now seems, but I think, for instance, there's a certain degree of working hard, not smarter. And I think there's a lot of players, there's a lot of commitment in the players, but they're not working, for instance, they seem to be running around, but the leadership, as I said, like Kyle Walker, for instance, even though he's our captain, which I don't agree with, he's a good, for instance, but he's not a leader, for instance, and the leader, for instance, in our defence is by far Ruben Diaz, who's injured. Rodri, midfield, injured. Yeah, for instance, Kevin De Bruyne, injured. For instance, and these three spine of the club, and who is not playing, has having a detrimental effect on the for instance, on the organisation of the players. Players seem to be running around, for instance, but not achieving, not in structure, for instance, and it's affecting. And every time a goal goes in, etc., it's affecting the players' confidence. Now, again, a team who's won 4 in a row, you would think that, for instance, they would be able to overcome that. But again, for instance, confidence is fragile, and for instance, when I see the players and the confidence, etc., it can be difficult for the players to be, for instance, to have. It can be, for instance, difficult for the players. They can, because at the end of the day, I'm 60 years old, and I've got and even though my confidence is not always the best, okay, but at least I've got a great deal of confidence, and I'm not young. But I, for instance, have an ability in my own self when I do my own exercise, my running, and my everything. So, for instance, and if I was going to do a job, I've got a confidence and ability. You're still dealing with people, who are still in their 20s and 90s and the 20s and whatever, still, and even 30. It's still quite young, for instance, and this, so there is a clear. You need a clear lack of lead, and on the football player, in a football team, you need a clear lack of leadership. United, again, going back to it, Bruno Fernandes is their captain. He's not a captain in any way whatsoever. He's not a leader. For instance, and United are suffering because they don't have a proper captain. So that's one of their issues. And Man City, for instance, have more than one captain, but we don't have captains now who are fit and fresh. I was hoping that Roger would come along and hopefully speak to the guys and tell them, come on. Get them riled up, like you see in the huddles. Who's leading? Who's doing the captain? Who's guiding the players? Who's keeping them? Who's keeping the back line? For instance, telling the players. So I think, for instance, this again, for instance, because of the injuries, it's opened up that issue. So because of the injuries, it's opened up the fact that the lack of the transfer policy has not been great. So that's been an issue. So, for instance, and Tiki's come out and said, the transfers in the last couple of transfer windows has not been great. The players we brought in has not been great for some reason. I don't know why. For instance, we're not privileged. We don't know. Maybe we'll find out later. For instance, and whenever when Tiki retires or something like that, and there'll be an expo of why we didn't bring in players, for the last 2 seasons, to replace, why didn't we bring a CDM in? Because screaming out for a backup CDM, and then we end up bringing in Gundogan. At the time, etc., it was a good idea. I still think it's a good idea. The problem is, you're playing now, asking Gundogan to do a Rodri role, and he's not that kind of guy. So, for instance, he's getting a lot of for instance, is getting a lot of grief because of it. Pep and his contract, for instance, is not. Again, it's one of these distracting things. It's another issue. Now it's been sorted. Fine, we know what we're doing. Let's focus now, rather than actually thinking who's going to be the new manager, who's going to be that. Again, it's not one of the. It's not. It's not a major issue probably to all the players, and it may not. I'm thinking, well, how am I going to? It's one of those another issue. It's like for instance, a boxer when you boxing and he gets hit, right, and you get he's going to survive it. First time he gets hit again, gets hit again, gets hit again, and it's all these tiny things, etc., which can have a detrimental effect on the football team as a whole and the players, and it can back down to the players. And I can see this again. There's a consensus when I've been listening to the fans, to the podcasters, the bloggers, and things like that, and they all say it's not one thing, it's 10 things. And I've been saying it's about 10 things: the transfer policy, the injuries, Pep's contract, offside thing, the aging of the players, the squad, for instance. So and it's all the captaincies. For instance, it's all come down to, for instance, the way we're playing at the moment. Now, for instance, the club needs to really put things into perspective. The short term, the middle term, and the long term. The short term should be at the moment. Well, if we go long term, at the moment. The long term needs to the address of the future of the squad, the rebuild when Amarin comes in. What's called Amarin? For instance, when the Viana comes in. For instance, the rebuild, for instance, Pep's staying on to 2027, hopefully, unlikely, for instance. Forget about these 115 charges. I still think we're going to ace them anyway, so regardless. So, for instance, we should just focus on what we need to focus on, which is this team, the squad. So, for instance, in the future, and the future plan of rebuilding the team in the long run. The middle thing, etc., is January. In January, for instance, we need to get buying players. Simple as that. We need to get some players. We need to get some fresh people in there. Definitely needs to be CDM. Definitely need a backup to Haaland. He can't do it all by himself. It's ridiculous not to get even any player wants to go to back up Haaland, for instance. And we definitely need at least 2 players. For instance, and we'll see how serious City are, for instance, if we don't address these issues. The first issue, the immediate issue, for instance, which can be addressed on tomorrow. We're playing, for instance, what do you call it? For instance, Feyenoord. And so, I think, for instance, against Feyenoord, what we can do is basically, for instance, in a team, for instance, we should be beating, and in all due respect, this is one of the weaker teams that will play in the Champions League. So we should be beating them. So, but, for instance, the way we are in the state at the moment, but what we need to do is, for instance, put out our strongest squad, regardless of Liverpool. We need to get points. We need to get points on the board in the Champions League, and we need a win. Simple as that. So we need to play our strongest squad. We need to play KDB from the start. We need to play, for instance, absolutely no weakness, because there's we need points now. It's really important because we've got Juventus next time. So, for instance, we need to get these points on the board. So we need a win, and we need the players, Haaland, to get scoring, for instance, but we need to be more in control of the players, for instance. So Kevin De Bruyne needs to play for his leadership. We need the players, for instance, play our stronger squad, and we need to play conservatively, not too far aggressively. We can't give Feyenoord any chance or hope of a sniff of a goal, especially in the first 20, 30 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes. First 45 minutes, you can't allow, because it will just drop, the heads will drop, the confidence will drop. We need to score. We need to score quickly. And if we score quickly, for instance, and score first, I think, for instance, it will give confidence. If we get a second goal, for instance, that will give the confidence more. And if we can put on a performance and keep a clean sheet, for instance, then we need that will give us a boost towards Sunday, because it's Tuesday. We've got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Come on, let's go. The players, it's not a 3-day thing, etc. Which players can get back. So, for instance, we need to put our strongest team, and we need to play in a conservative way, not go gun ho. We're sending everybody forward. People need to be, for instance, and, the, you know, for instance, we need can't have Gundogan and Rico in a double pivot. For instance, if John Stones is fit, keep him in the midfield. We need stronger midfielders. We need that midfield as tight as a duck's ass. Okay, and so yeah, Pep needs, and if it's not working, he needs to change it and change it quick. Because a win would boost the squad, would stop the rot, would boost the squad, boost the confidence of the squad, and that'll give him a little bit more confidence. Because Liverpool, regardless, and everybody's writing off Liverpool already. Liverpool, I just watched their game against Southampton. You know, they were good, for instance, but they relied on a penalty. They went 1-0 down, 1-0 up, and they went 2-1 down. And then they relied on, for instance, a penalty to win the game. So against the team at the bottom of the side. Now, okay, Southampton are a half decent team, but Leeds will do that. But it's the Premier League squad. For instance, you can't go in thinking that everything's going to be perfect. So everything's going to be a walkover. Everybody thought it was going to be 3-0. Okay, but for instance, Southampton gave them a scare. Or does it mean that Southampton are a lot better than what they are? Or B, Liverpool is not as invincible as not as Forest found out, as what, you know, Liverpool fans are now saying they are. So, for instance, and the media is saying they are, for instance. But, so my feeling is the fact that Liverpool, you can score against them. And if Manchester to keep it tight at the back, be as strong as we can in the field. And then, for instance, there's no reason why we can't go to Anfield and get something. And it might be far-fetched, and you might think, oh, you're blue happy clapper. No, I just feel, for instance, this is football, and I think, for instance, if you've got commitment and you've got to go for it, for instance, or, you know, for instance, you know, go to Liverpool. There's nothing to say that, for instance, we can't go to Liverpool and get something out of it. Nothing at all. But I think we need to stop the rot, and we need to get the confidence back in the players, and the players need to get, for instance, get the heads up and start smiling, you know, again, put a smile on the face. And nothing's better than a goal or a win of 3 points against Feyenoord on Tuesday. And do I believe we can do that? Yes, I do. But we need to, need to be conservative mode, and let the forwards do what they need to do. Foden, De Bruyne, Bernardo, Jack, you need to step up. You need to really, show who your character is, who you are. You're the experienced. You're the old heads. You're the ones who know. For instance, you don't need, and you don't need to be guided as much as the young players. So, and if it's not going right, then Pep needs to change it and change it quickly. Half time, boom. So change it, for instance, and I think that once we come back, we win at the Etihad with 3 points, 3 points to the board. City fans will be happier. The rot will be off. That stupid little banner United fans were holding up to say when Man City ever going to win a game, it will be tossed to one side, for instance, and then we can start looking forward to Anfield, and we can just take it bit by bit, day by day. Are we going to win the league? More than likely not. Are we going to get top 4? Well, 100%, I feel. Okay, we're good enough. Okay, but for instance, and I do think, and if we buy in January, get these players back, buy in January, get a smile on these players' faces. Get hopefully the players having a good heart to see the fact that, for instance, this 4-0, worst defeat by far. I haven't seen a worse defeat. The Aston Villa defeat was bad enough. The Southampton on the treble season next to it was bad enough. Okay, we went on to win a treble that season. But I've never seen a more after the United FA Cup final result. But it hurt me more than it hurt the United City players. But I think, for instance, the fact that, for instance, we, for instance, I fact I just feel that for the fact that this 4-0 defeat at home, going away is bad enough, and losing bad enough. Getting knocked out of the Carabao Cup, don't care. Champions League, that was bad. For instance, losing to 0, not scoring, having loads of chances we had. but not winning, not getting the for instance, the goal, or getting any kind of a goal on board, etc. Not significantly, no. So yeah, but with Caro having a blinder, I just saw one of those attempts with Haaland, where he got put him through with Kevin De Bruyne. Any other day that would have gone in, for instance, but Vicaro, like most goalkeepers who come to the Etihad and play a blind, it just drives you crazy. But we've got to have that confidence, and we've got to get the guys up again, and the fans up again, and the fans. Being a City fan, for instance, you go through it. We go through it with the bitterness from from the media about 115 and your cheating, your nastiness and whatever. And now, for instance, we've lost 5 in a row. It's like, oh, Man City are crap, Man City, whatever. It's just Rory Jenkins, City ever going to win again? Oh, for God's sake, the crap Man City fans have to put up with. But it's just ridiculous. I'm in Thailand and I can feel it from Thailand. I feel it. Let's go when I go down to a bar and have a drink, and I sit there listening to United fans clocking away, and like they've got something to clock away about. Oh, we beating their thing. Well, we. So yeah, anyway. So, but no, I'm gonna leave you and leave you. So I'm gonna leave it from there because again, for instance, I do chat a lot. That's the reason why I don't do this text things because I just have 10 pages of chat to talk about. But no, anyway, so like and subscribe if you like the video. If you agree with me, that's fine, I understand. If you don't agree with me, that's fine, I understand. If you get any comments, let me know. But because I like to know what people think. I think you can be supportive right now without being accused of a happy clapper. And I don't think for instance, and I think if Manchester City, which I do believe, because we're a very professional organisation, we really are. And I do believe, for instance, in the way this Man City's run, the guys, I'm sure they've done it. Unfortunately, again, we don't see it. It's all behind the scenes. But I'm sure, for instance, and I've got every trust in Pep. All this nonsense about Pep out. How can you call yourself a City fan and say Pep out? Just ridiculous. And slagging off the players like they're garbage. Anyway, so there's like a car coming around the corner, so I'm going to love you and leave you before I get interrupted. So, sorry, Cap from Thailand. I'll have a quick chat with preview of the final game tomorrow. Anyway, so keep him in. Love this bench. Makes me cry. It's my best relationship ever. And believe me, I've had a few. So, but sorry, Cap from Thailand. I'll speak to you tomorrow. Take care.